Hey there, welcome to Be Unmessable with the podcast. I am your host, Josselyne Herman-Saccio, and today I have such a special guest. She is like a sister to me, a mentor, a hero. She has trained and developed me for, more than 30 years. She's what I consider to be the mother of transformation. She's been participating in transformation, leading transformative work since before I was born, which is a long time. And I am thrilled that she's here on the show. Please welcome the most amazing human being that I know, Charlene Afremow. Charlene.
My pleasure to be with you.
Oh, it's so wonderful to have you.
Yes.
Yeah, it really.
The subject was, I just wanted to be with you.
That's how I feel about you as well, So tell us, obviously I know your story, but tell the people who are listening a little bit about how you ended up in the world of transformation, because it was not normal back in the 60s. It wasn't as popular as it is now.
It wasn't. It was not. The way transformation courses did not exist. So first off, none of it was planned. It was I was guided. Let's say that. And in 1968, I had, I'm going to call it a breakthrough, but today I'd call it, I really experienced God's light. But I wouldn't call it that in 1968. I didn't know what to call it. But I woke up because I was in a course that required mental memorizing presentations. And mentally, I went bankrupt. In other words, I stopped thinking. And then all of a sudden, everything altered. And this energy went through my body like lightning for months. I healed the sinusitis. Everything was different. I saw people. I saw what was really going on with people. I didn't think it. I didn't feel it. I just could see. I could see the cover-up. I could see what they were hiding. I could see some people scared me because I could actually start seeing what was really going on. And then I never knew I was going to lead transformational courses. I just was good with people. And I did, was in sales. I was in cosmetics, a company called Beneficial from Canada. So I would go into schools and teach people how to do their makeup and dress for their shows, and went into people's homes and lectured, and I did a lot of work with conservation, got involved with holiday magic. And that was the courses where I was learning the transcripts. And it was, I'm not good at memorizing, are you?
I'm pretty good at memorizing something I hear.
Yeah, I can get the point, but word for word is not kind of like good for me. So that was the beginning. And in 1968, I came to California. When my marriage, everything, it was clear to me that things were not working. But it wasn't like bad. It was like, that's what needed to happen. So my two sons and I came to California, and that's how it started. I went to a course called Mind Control in LA, and I heard voices like, this one man said, visually said, "You'll be with me." I thought, what is going on? I saw things, I heard things. It was all natural. There was no. So I came back to Northern California where I was living, and there he was. It was Alexander Everett in Mind Dynamics. I didn't question it. I paid for the course, took the course, and that was the beginning of leading the courses. And I was like electric right away. People just came. And next thing I know, I was consulting, and I was leading courses, and and it was a whirlwind. It was just truly a calling, because I did not plan any of it, because I was looking for things to do, and when I came here, but everything was a no, nothing was, and there I was. So you kind of know the rest of the story, of course. Then I met Werner in my third course.
And for those of you listening, Werner Erhard is who Charlene is referring to, who was the founder of the S training. Charlene has been involved with every transformative program there is, I think, from Mind Dynamics to the S training to LifeSpring to the forum to God only knows.
Worked with it, I worked with LifeSpring as a consultant. I was in Russia, I was in Hong Kong, I was in Malaysia, I was in Singapore. And then, through Landmark, I was in Egypt. I was, in London. I was in London a lot. And then, of course, all over the United States. What was it, 54 locations or something? I don't know, a lot of locations. I probably led more courses than anybody on the planet.
I think that's probably true, given how long you've been leading. I think that's true.
I always love to be with the people. People always ask me what keeps me young. Not that I am so young anymore. But I would say I just love my work. I love working with people and having people discover themselves. I would love that. I miss that part. Not working with people or traveling, but that kind of connection. Because not working with hired hands, that's another story.
And you just turned 89, right?
Exactly.
So, for those of you that aren't watching this, she looks really good. You'll see a photo of her for sure.
Oh, yeah.
And, when I first met you, it was back in the 80s. And I remember, not when we first met, but later on when I started to lead the forum, I guess it was the forum and the advanced course, whatever it was, I was with you in a workshop. And there were a bunch of other people in the workshop who shall remain nameless, but I went right over to you. I was like, whoever she is, she's sourceful. I want to be around her and I'm going to do what she tells me to do.
Well, I think it was with Richard Condon, our dear friend.
Yes, who just passed. Yeah.
You just had your baby.
That's right. So it was like 20 years ago.
Yes, that's how we met you. And we connected
right away, and fast friends. I mean, not just like colleagues, but like, sisters immediately.
Well, I learned a lot from you.
I feel that I can't believe you're saying that, but I feel like that's what I should be saying to you.
I did. I learned a lot from you. It was more based on our friendship. It was very safe for us, for me. I didn't have to watch anything. I didn't have to, because we had a lot of structure. Today, I was talking to my friend who was a guest introduction leader for Landmark. And I've known her, kind of my relationship with her is like you, but she's much older. And I said, I'm going to say this out loud. I questioned, did transformation really work given the way the world's going today?
Yeah.
And I think that a lot, but I never say it out loud. Because people want to win. They want power. They'll lie, cheat. They're corrupt in order to win, to have power. And it sickens me. So I questioned it because, we were in bad shape in 1968 too. People just said, oh, they didn't care about things. They just did kind of what they did. So I'm not particularly happy with what happened.
Yeah, it's hard to think about the hundreds of thousands of people that you've worked with, that I've worked with, and you see the planet in the condition that it's in, and humanity in the condition that it's in. It is sometimes like, okay, well, either you're going to just get sucked into the reaction to that, or you're going to keep creating consistent with your vision.
Well, I think we need to face it. Like you and I know, when we get into a course, everything looks wonderful. And then you start digging and it's not so wonderful. And it's sometimes really ugly. And maybe it's the ugliness is coming up, the evilness is coming up now. I hope so. So people will wake up. But I don't know. Because I don't think they get choice. Coming from nothing, not from something.
Say more about that for people listening, just so that you can create the world of that.
I would love to. So first off, we make decisions, and a decision means to cut away. And we do it because of something, because of how we feel, or our bank account, or our thoughts, or our past, or the economy, or whatever's going on in the world. So it's always based on something. It's like buying a car, Do you like red? Was it cost, or all the yes no's? And then you add up the list, and if there's more yeses than no's, then you say yes. That's a decision based on something. Choice comes from nothing other than your word, other than saying so. Now, to get to nothing is a job. That takes some work because we got covered over at a very young age, as we know. So to get to choice, the space of no thing, of nothing, of possibility, and then you choose because you choose, not because of something. And that's where we're at. We're not choosing. We're making decisions based on people's lives and whatever they believe. You know what I mean? So sad, because it's going to keep persisting. Because what we decide keeps persisting. It never goes away.
So what would you tell people to do? I mean, if you just, had people's ear for a minute, which you do, you have people's ear, whoever's listening right now.
I send them to you. I would tell them to go see your, get hooked into your unmessable with.
I did not tell her to say that, everybody, but that's a huge listen, everything I do has some relation to you, Charlene. There's no question that you trained me and developed me. And I, in many ways, modeled myself after you, for the last couple of decades. And, as I've been creating the Unmessable with method, everybody, Charlene's been there shoulder to shoulder with me from the get-go. And, I run things by her. I ask her, does this make sense? Is this, accessible for people? And, she really is like my trimming mechanism, because you are really the source of all transformation for me. Even the source of Werner's transformation, who was the source of transformation for my family. So for me, it's clean. And, for those of you listening, being with Charlene is like being with nothing and no one. You're just dealing with yourself at all times when you're with Charlene, because there's nothing there to bump up against or get hooked into.
Remember, the S training was really transformational. It was a tough course, with 300 to 500 people, long hours. And you'd hug everyone at the end of the night or early in the morning, right?
Yeah, really.
It was that kind of intimate. And then we transformed to landmark. Of course, that went through a lot of gyrations also. But as training for me was transformational. And that's where I come from more than anything. Because we're stuck in our belief systems. And if we don't create from nothing, and we don't come from possibility, or the light, as I'm going to say now, because I'm involved in Sukha Mahakari. We keep coming from something, and we do reruns over and over, like our economy in our country and our political system, right? So we know what people have been covering up for a long time. We've been lying to ourselves. We pretend. We want to look good at all costs. And it's getting more and more real to me as I get older. It's like, are young people buying into it? And, I'm working with hired hands because, I have care now from not every day, but from day to day.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm finding people don't want to work. There's no character anymore. There's just, it's just really sad to me. And sometimes when I really do it, train them, but that's not my job now. Their job is to take care of me.
That must be incredibly frustrating for you, I can imagine.
Totally. Because I'm working with a gal by the name of Tay, T-A-Y. And she's 23. And all she thinks about is herself. She's not a caregiver, really. And I don't know if you can train her, because I had a fitness business for a while when I was not working in transformational work. And I found out I couldn't train people in well-being. You can train them in technique, but it's a space they come from. And I found that mothers have it, not all mothers, but most mothers have it. And some people have it. Just it comes in their upbringing or whatever it is, that they really are out here for other people. But not really. It's really difficult. I think of all the people I train as one. I would say train because I want them to do my house the way I want it done, not the way they want it done. And there's one person, she's loving. She's like a daughter. I love it when she's coming. I love what she does. I don't have to tell her what to do. One.
And you trained lots of people. I mean, in the 20 years that I've been working with you, and I've known you longer than that, but the 20 years I've been working with you, I know that when you train people on the teams and the courses, that was, you know, one of the things you loved doing. And I learned so much about training and development from you that I implement now with people as I work with them in coaching, which is different than training for sure. But talk a little bit about that, like, because everybody, you know, calls themselves a coach. Oh, I'm coaching. What's the difference for you between coaching and training?
It's night and day. So coaching requires people to have something at stake. So it's kind of like playing football. So you're either sitting in the stands and watching the game and judging it and saying what people should do or not do, or you're on the court, you're on the field, and you're playing the game. So to coach someone, that's the problem with my hired help. They got to be on the field or in the game, and they're not. So you can't coach them. You can give them pointers, you can advise them, but you can't coach them. So when somebody has something at stake, and you and I know we worked hard to get something at stake even before they came in the door, which was not much, but it was something.
Something.
But to get someone at stake, really get the impact it has in their life by sitting in the stands, observing life, judging life, believing how things should go instead of the way they are, it's like night and day. But when people got on the court and they got to the impact in their life, they gave up some ways of being that was not working, as we both know. That's when it was delightful. And they got that that's not worth that. And that may be the problem today. You know, because we're really divided as a country.
Yes, more so than I've ever seen in my lifetime.
Me too. Totally. You have to be careful what you say to some people.
It's true. A lot of the people that I coach, they say, well, I don't talk to this person anymore because of this. And I don't talk. And I'm like, what are you just going to cut people out until there's no one left? I mean, you know, but people have lost the ability to listen to another human being without being threatened.
Your class is the number one in one of your classes.
What happened?
You have 5 days, right? Number one was listening.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, which most people don't do.
No, they don't. Or they listen based on the past.
Or with an agenda, you know, like in order to whatever, produce some result.
So I have a caregiver. Her name's Linda. She's also a friend. So she's been around for a long time. You think she'd be good. But I'll mention something at the grocery store. Immediately she'll go back to the past when it wasn't there. I said, what's that got to do with today? You don't know what's in the grocery store today.
Yes, that's right.
I mean, it's so simple, but it isn't when you're living in the past about something that wasn't there. So it goes on and on. And I miss, you know, being able to. Now she's a graduate, and you think that you could, but she's not easy. So I'm learning more and more about just everyday living, you know, even though I'm not in the course. Also makes it harder too, because I don't have permission to do it.
Yeah, it is different when somebody is paying you to coach them than if you're just at the grocery store with somebody. It doesn't quite work the same way. But where I've learned the biggest lessons I've learned about being in the moment and not bringing the past with me has been from my mother, who has dementia. And it's amazing because in those conversations with her, she'll ask me the same question 10 times in 10 minutes. And I literally have to just answer the question right now, not from, you just asked me that, or I already told you, or whatever. I just answer the question, and there's no stress. There's just ease in my relationship with her. And I mean, like my father, who's with her way more than me, get frustrated when she asks something more than once. And I understand it. I can have compassion for the frustration, but it's amazing that one thing, if you can just exercise that muscle of being right here, right now, not there, now, here, or whatever that is.
Exactly. Perfectly said. So anyway, there's a lot of time wasted on our past. So you're coming from something rather than nothing. Like no thing, not a thing, not a feeling. So in Sukumaikara, we go through the spirit, mind, and body, and do we distinguish them? Of course, they're all collapsed. You can distinguish them, but you can't separate them. But we collapse and we live out of our mind. And that's what's happening. I mean, of course, we always know that was the weakness of this work is to be thrown to the mind, like machines.
Yeah, that whole automatic, which is a lot of my work, which is that world of reaction or automaticity or machinery or all of that, as distinct from that world of creation, from nothing, from no thing. But when I think about your life, right? When I think about your life, which is obviously not you thinking about your life, I think you've gone through so many chapters. It's kind of amazing if I think about, coming from North Dakota, being the oldest of 12, being a farmer, basically.
Right. I sat through college at 16. So, I've been on my own, really. Started first grade when I was 5. So there was no kindergarten for me.
Kindergarten was taking care of your brothers and sisters.
It was. I was probably doing more at 5 than most people did at 25. Cooking, everything. So,
you've always been a worker. You've always been like, when we go to lead a course, you're not like, do this, do that. You're doing it. You're moving the chairs. You're moving the tables. You're a get it done person, and not I mean, I can't even believe I'm saying these words, but not lazy. You're not lazy, but you're the opposite of not lazy. You're just a worker, and I think that people who don't have that work ethic could get reactivated by it.
Yeah, we had that in my family. Remember, we had a big farm with 600 show cattle and lots of land. So it was a lot of work. But what did we know?
That's just what it was. It wasn't a lot of work. It was what it was. It was just Tuesday.
Most of my friends were single women or girls. And I now know why, because I had a lot of space for them, because I had a lot of space for my brothers and sisters. Because, with 11 brothers and sisters, they're all up to something.
Yes, really.
So I had a lot of space for them because they were quite, I'm going to call it spoiled, because they were given to. Now, I didn't know that at the time, but now I can see why I had that kind of relationship, because I have space. But, when we started doing this work, it made a big difference for us personally, but for our families and all the people around us. It takes my breath away. I mean, it was really different. And we went from city to city to guest event to country. And people were the same everywhere with different pretenses, but the same underneath it all. And there was such an affinity. I don't see that anymore. But I'm not in courses. Of course, courses don't exist anymore, do they?
They do. They're doing, Landmark's still doing courses. They do some in person and mostly online.
Okay.
It's different. Honestly, I think the source of that, Charlene, isn't the state of the world, although this is a little chicken or egg. I think COVID changed everything.
Probably.
And I
And
think that became the
hot weather,
disconnection.
and now hot weather.
Mm.
In our country, it's very hot, and people can't be out. I can't be out when it's hot.
Yeah, it's too dangerous. I know. And my parents have to stay in. I
I,
get it.
I have a new belief. I don't like summers. So hot here. I've never experienced a hot summer like this.
Yeah, it is.
I,
It's like a different world.
that's something I'm dealing with, feeling shut in. Well, COVID wasn't so bad because I got out. I didn't care. I didn't wear a mask. I went out, walked, had fun, and I'm pretty fearless. But with the cold, with the heat, I have to stay in. I cannot be out in the heat. Just going from the car to the restaurant takes some.
Yeah, it's oppressive. It is. And so I think that when that started, when COVID happened and people started to become remote and not being with people, like you said, we used to hug at the end of the course or in the mornings, physical touch has minimized. People's offices are hybrid. They're at home, they're working, they're barely with other people. I think that's had a huge impact on the state of the world.
So they did. Right.
People experience being disconnected by default.
Right. Yeah, I get it. I get it now with the heat because I felt much freer with the COVID. I only wore a mask to go see my doctor.
You'd sweat your face off if you were wearing a mask now outside.
I know. No, I didn't wear it outside. I mean, it's fresh air.
Yeah. And you live in a place where you can be 6 feet away from people and it's not an issue.
We didn't need to do it anyway.
Yeah.
There's a lot of fear and motivation. So that's the other thing. Fear is definitely present again.
Yeah, fear is prevalent. I would agree with you completely. Speaking of fear, no, not speaking of fear, but given the show is called Be Unmessable With, and you were there at the birth of my beginning to use that word, more than 20 years ago. And, for those people listening, it doesn't mean being tough. It's really about being able to shift from reaction to creation, from something to no thing and creation. And, you've had so many situations in your life, and I've been with you through many of them, but so many situations that were difficult, like difficult circumstances that could have taken somebody down for the count, but you always emerged triumphant, transcended the difficult circumstances. Can you give people an example of something something that comes to mind that was like that? And what did it take to be unmessable with in a situation where life was throwing at something at you that could have messed with you severely?
I can talk about my life now. So first of all, I was the kind of person I'd wake up and be ready to go. It's not like that anymore. And I don't know if you know this, I think you do, but I had what they call heart failure in March. I was in the hospital for 5 days. So it's affecting my breathing. You can hear it as I speak. So my heart is not strong enough to eliminate all the fluid in my body. So I have to deal with my own physicalness. So mentally, I have a different picture of myself than the way I am. So when I get messed with sometimes because I get my pictures mixed up with what is so. Fortunately, I have you and I have technology and I have sometimes a one word can wake me up. But I have to deal with, and then the other thing is I'm lonely now. I would have never said that because I always liked being alone because I was never alone. Being a big family and people all the time.
Yeah, so 12 kids, you wished you could be alone.
So I had no problem. But recently, someone called me and asked me some questions. And I realized I was left lonely and, what was the other word? Somewhat depressed. I would have never said that about me. Never. Where you're just not interested in much of anything. And I think this is an issue with people our age. And if I had the physicalness, I would put together a course for that. But anyway, this man was a psychologist and he's got a course. So he put me on his list, because people need companionship. I live alone. I don't want anyone around, but I don't want to be alone either.
Yeah. You want your cake and eat it too. You sound like most women I know over 60 that are single. They're like, I want a boyfriend, but I don't really want anybody around, and I don't want to change anything I do the way I do it.
Exactly. After a while, they're around. I wish they were gone. You see,
Yes.
I feel like I have to be the host or something, and so it's different if you had a husband, someone you've been living with, and so there's that new. That's what gets messed with me now,
Yeah.
where I have to really confront the way I am from what my pictures are, because they're not the same.
And what do you use to
Yes,
bring yourself? Yeah, I mean, but I don't think that's isolated to being 89. Honestly, I have pictures of myself from when I was 25 and I'm 57, and I'm going, there's a filter that I'm looking at myself through, comparing the current me to the old me to the future me to, like, I think people have that no matter what age they are.
maybe do. I don't remember having it. But
yeah, you probably didn't,
I didn't have time.
Yeah.
But remember, I've been retired now for 10 years or so. So that's a long time. So I'm away from, I don't miss the phone calls. I don't miss traveling. I don't miss all of it, but I miss the connection I've had with people where I really make the difference. Michael Gail walked in and I knew immediately she was bullied because she was protective. She came to take care of me, right? And I knew this was going to be a problem. I kept saying to her, I'm not your mother. You can relax, have fun. If you're going to be with me, we can do this. It's simple work, nothing major, but we could do this together. But she just won't let go. She just won't let go. So you're dealing with that. Now, I know she was in a course, and I had the permission to work with some of the distinctions. Although I come from them, it may make a difference. I don't know, but she'd have to have something at stake anyway.
Yeah, but I can't imagine you being in an interaction with any human being and not being driven to make a difference, because that's who you are, is like the space of contribution.
It's true, but I get discouraged sometimes. Okay, I don't know if they made a difference with her today. But I really want somebody to come and take care of me, because I need some things taken care of, physically.
Yeah.
So the tables have turned that way.
And so what do you use, or what do you rely on to be able to keep yourself straight, so to speak, or true yourself up?
Like I told you, I have to distinguish my images of the past from what's so. I got to stop and rest. Like when you go for a walk, I could go up this hill, but now when I get up to the top, I got to stop and rest. I just do it.
Yeah.
And I feel bad about it. But at first it was like hard to break myself up, because you and I know, be unstoppable, right? Keep going. That's not good for me now. You got to breathe.
Yeah.
And keep your oxygen level high. So, the hospital worked with me on some things like, oh God, because I don't just walk. I want to walk fast.
Yes, no, you're walking with a purpose, So
that's what I'm dealing with, every day. It's not like once in a while. It's just every day, I wake up and it's not the same.
Yeah, I can imagine. I mean, I know I'm with my parents who are 93 and 91. And every once in a while, it's hard for my dad to get up from the chair, and he'll be like, this getting old stuff sucks, man. And I'm like, well, it's better than the alternative, but I do get it. I mean, even at my young age, so to speak, I feel the aches and pains, and, my shoulder doesn't work the way it used to, and I can't just do stuff. I have to be conscious.
Have you watched some of the Olympics? It's a little shattering, isn't it, to see the things that they can do?
Oh my gosh, it's shocking. And I'm here in Paris during the Olympics, and it's like, they're miraculous, heroic, superhuman people.
Unbelievable. Well, their mind has been trained. I mean, it's like you can't find one from the other, But I have learned to ask. It was not my nature to ask. It's like, I was capable. I didn't have to think about that. But I have to ask for things that I need. And it's still uncomfortable.
That's interesting because, I train people in making requests and invitations, and I got that training from you. You taught me how to ask.
Now, you asked me to make requests of other things, but when it comes from me,
yeah,
it's a different
interesting. Yeah, so you've had to expand your playing field for that.
Very personal, it's very personal. And you don't think this when you're young or when you're going to get old, what it's going to be like. But I can see now my mother went through that, and I didn't realize it. She was lonely, but she didn't admit it either. She said, "Oh, you don't need to come." And by the time I got there, she was so happy.
Oh my God! And you used to play cards with her and go on cruises,
right. So I can see that now, and I think that our age group is missed. And I don't know if our age group would end up in courses like that anyway. No. So now they come, like this gentleman I talked to comes to your home. He's going to interview me and then arrange other people that could work with. They won't do therapy or anything like that, but connection. So we'll find out. But I thought it was interesting. I think they really need it because in my community, there's a lot of old people.
Yeah, I mean, just the space of connection, I think, is missing on the planet, but for sure I can see it in people over a certain age. It's like staying connected. How do you generate being connected when the circumstances aren't pulling for it?
Yeah, I don't want to go home. I don't want to ever do that. I live in a nice house. Everything works. I know where everything is. And if somebody puts something in the wrong place, then I have a big problem. Like, where's my post office keys, right? We were looking for those the other day. One of their hired hand put them somewhere else, so we had spent hours looking for them. But really, I don't want to go anywhere. George wants me to move closer to them, and then I'd have to move. I'd have to unsettle everything.
Yeah.
And I know where my bed is, and I know where my everything is, right?
Yeah, so, it's a lot to be responsible for ongoingly creating. I think that's the way I would put it. It's like, because it's not getting created unless you're generating whatever it is, whatever the space is that you're going to be in. Not physically, but the spatial space, the energetic space is really going to be a function of what you create. There's not anybody else to create it.
Well, the clearest for me was when my birthday came up and they wanted to do something. I said, I'm not interested. I'm not interested in doing anything. Other than the one thing I love is going out and having lunch with people. I like that. I like being served. I don't have to cook or do any of that. And so that worked out really well. 5 of us went out to lunch in a nice restaurant in Marin, and it was wonderful. I felt like my old self for a bit. But I saw that I don't really want to do fussing anymore. It's like my mother would say, "No, I don't need that. There's something you don't need to do anymore." I'm 89. I had a lot of birthdays.
That's right.
A lot of wonderful birthdays. Not as a child. We didn't do that. We didn't celebrate birthdays because we all.
Well, there's 12 of you. I mean, you'd be celebrating a birthday every month.
At least. So things have changed. And I think that's happening. You can tell someone it's not going to be the same. They're going to either get it or not. And everybody's different, Everybody goes through it a little differently. So I'm not laying something on someone. But the loneliness and depression, and I don't mean depression like maybe it is chemical, I don't know, but I'm not a doctor. But where you can't just be yourself all the time and free, because I felt when we were in the courses, we could be ourselves, didn't you?
Yeah. And I think freedom is a big thing for you, of what I know about you. That's kind of what you want for people. That's what you've always wanted to contribute to people. That's where I always,
enjoy.
yeah, freedom was like the
And
space.
freedom and joy, and to enjoy their life.
Yeah.
So I'm a great grandmother 3 times now. Ashley had the twins, and Michael had a boy, 8 pounds 11 ounces, born 4 weeks early. Can you imagine the
Yes,
size of
because two of my kids were four weeks early, but they were 7'15", so not quite as big. That would have been a big baby.
8'11"? That's a big baby.
Yeah, even at full
4
term.
weeks early. So anyway, so great grandmother, that's kind of exciting when I think about it, watch them grow, beginning to ride their bikes, and oh my God, the time goes so fast.
That's where the freedom and joy comes from. That's probably why George wants you to move closer.
I think, no, I don't think he does. I think he wants to work for me.
Mm.
Yeah, I don't think there'd be any benefit by me being closer, I don't think.
No, for you to be around the kids so that you could have more of that space. Yeah.
Except one's in Texas. The other one's in, she's a police officer, so that's kind of a tougher. Can you imagine being a police officer having two 2-year-olds?
No, I don't know how she's going to referee those fights.
They take care of each other.
That's sweet. They're so sweet.
There. So anyway, so that's what I could mess with.
Yeah.
Of the past of me, because there was nothing I couldn't do. I could go clean my windows. I could anything. But now I have to ask for everything.
Yeah, I can see that as a whole other muscle to develop. But that's what brings you through it. Because, listen, going through what you've gone through, I mean, with the falls and the things where during COVID, you broke your pelvis, there were so many things where it was like, and you're so far away from me or your family, and you're dealing with all of that on your own. You had to develop asking. You had to.
Well, it's pretty good until maybe this year after the hospital. And that's when things kind of settled in. Because remember, I went in, I came out of 138 pounds, about 130 now. And I'm not supposed to lose or gain weight, but I think I am losing. My face is thin, but this is it.
This is it.
This is it.
I think those are the 3 words that people should leave this show with. This is it. If you can master that.
And somebody calls me and say, I'm still here.
But a funny story is, like, recently, I can't remember, I posted something because we had a joint birthday party one year on my 50th and your 72nd, right? So we did, there were pictures that came up on Facebook, and somebody private messaged me saying, did Charlene pass away? I was like, no, why are you asking that? And then I called you just to make sure. You were like, I'm still here. So I was like, did I miss a meeting? No, she didn't pass away. I just talked to her.
Number, that's probably why.
Yeah. Pretty funny. Oh my God.
Which is good though. Changing your phone out cleans up a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
It was good.
Yeah. Well, I so appreciate our friendship and our relationship, which is more than a friendship. But you have been really like my ontological mother, but more like a sister. And I treasure you.
I treasure it too, and I want people to be involved with your work because you can make the difference that people need. And when I check in on you, you make a difference every time. So I want people to know who you are. I don't know how. I'm sure you've got your mechanism, but the work you do is I'm going to say, is not intrusive, and yet, you're not intruding, and yet the way you work, people get it for themselves. I think they do it themselves. Remember, there's always certain two styles. Either we're doing the intruding, or we're having a conversation that allows them to intrude on themselves. So you have a grace about you and a love for people that It shines through all the time. So that's why I love being on the show with you, because I would like this to be available for people. And many of you who are the people like me coming up in life at this stage, it's important.
Yes, well, that's my mission, is to make a difference with as many people as possible.
So
So I appreciate everything you say about me, but I appreciate who you are for me.
you coach people too, to coach people, yes. So that's important also. So I miss some of the people that we used to work with, like Richard Condon, and I can't even think of some of the people, but they're gone now.
Yeah. Alan Edelman. I mean, it's like, I was looking at a picture of us from some conference like 20 years ago, 15 years ago, and like almost everybody's dead from the picture. I was like, oh my God, Ron. And
I know. Well, I could be next,
Well, you might be, but I might be. Who knows?
No, I don't have any regrets. I lived my life, as you know.
Yes, you did. And you made a huge difference to millions of people.
I did while I was alive. I really did make a difference. I mean, I could see it in people. But, I don't see it in the world level right now. But you travel, and I'm sure you see it better than I do.
Yeah, well, I can see your reach almost everywhere I look in the transformative world. So there's no question, and I go around and do keynotes, and your flavor is everywhere, from the world of transformation, because it is something that you were the source of. And there were very few people that were at the heart of that. And it was, you and maybe a handful of people. So we all thank you.
I was always clear that as we go, the world goes. I've always clear they're now separate. And I think that got across. We all win, or none of us. But that's what's missing for me now. That as you, if I judge you, it affects me just as much as you. If for sure it affects me. So that's missing, because we are in this together. That was the experience we had. That in that course, that was going to make a difference in the world.
Yeah. Yeah.
We weren't going to train everyone.
No, but there'd be enough of a, like that whole tipping point phenomenon. Right. That was what we were working on, was to cause enough possibility in the world that there would be at some point a shift in the reality of what it was to be a human being. And hasn't happened. And it seems like maybe further away than it did maybe 10 years ago, but it still exists as a possibility. It's still there to be created.
Well, it's great that you're doing what you're doing. Really is great.
Thank you for all your guidance and your support and your coaching. And thank you for being on the show. Is there anything you want to leave people with, like in last words of wisdom from Charlene Afremow?
Yes, please contact Josselyne. Connect with Josselyne. And I love you. You're worth everything. Anything is possible. So just get in touch with the right conversations and stop being prejudiced about who's right or wrong, and just take on your life and support other people. In fact, that's the only way, because we are connected. So being connected to other people.
Yeah. Well, that's what I'm leaving with. I'm leaving this conversation with connection and freedom and joy.
That's me. That's it. Connection, freedom, and joy. It's perfect.
That is. It's perfect. I love you so much.
Love everyone. Bye.
Yes. We'll see you on the next episode of Be Unmessable With, the podcast. Thank you again for tuning into this week's episode of Be Unmessable with the podcast. And I never take for granted that you spend time with me. And I always want to make sure that you get value when you do. So I am including in the show notes a link for you for our Basics of Being Unmessable with workbook. It's a 12-page workbook that gives you all the basics of developing yourself to be unmessable with no matter what life throws at you, to be able to shift from the world of reaction to creation on a dime. And it'll give you a whole practice that you can implement in your daily life over and over and over again. So click on the link below and grab that 12-page workbook and let me know what you discover as you engage with it. Have a great week.